Alright, what's going on, guys? So, I had a YouTuber ask me, what was going on with my MSI motherboard. Also, I had him ask a couple questions about the BIOS, and honestly, I just wanted to do an update video on my computer just because, I have done a lot of work to this thing, and as you can see, it no longer has the MSI motherboard. So, wanted to go over everything and kind of, get it all out. Long and the short of it, my MSI motherboard fried the chipset that goes right underneath that heatsink there on the MSI motherboard. For whatever reason, I guess it got really, really hot one day, which never made sense to me because the cooling on that computer was always, it always said it was cold. Even the motherboard temperature even said it was cold, all the time. So I was kind of confused as to how it happened, but long and the short of it, the I guess that's the chipset VRAM that's underneath there. That I guess overheated, and long and the short of it, it melted the. There's like a thermal tape that goes underneath that heatsink there, and it literally melted the MSI thermal tape that was underneath there. I only know this because I actually took the MSI motherboard apart, and just that heatsink, just to see what the hell was going on, because I thought it might have been filled with like fluid, and somehow the fluid got out, or I thought maybe it was something from my vape pen that I have. But long and the short of it, it wasn't either or. It was actually the heat tape melted. I'm actually in the process of doing an RMA with MSI at the moment to get that motherboard sent back to them, just due to the fact that it had that issue. But long and the short of it, that motherboard's dead. It's gone. I actually still have the CPU from that motherboard, the 6350. See if I can get this to focus. There you go. So I still have the AMD 6350, and then I'll do a little bit of explanation as to what's in this computer now. Like I said, long and the short of it, that motherboard fried, so I had to get something new. Looked around at pricing, and honestly, I decided that 970 was an old chipset, so let's get something new. So I went with the Gigabyte G1 gaming 990FX motherboard, and I figured let's just play it safe. We'll get a new graphics card, we'll get a new CPU, and we'll move forward from this, and we'll take a full loss on that computer and just move forward. I thought maybe it was the graphics card, maybe it was the CPU, but it turned out it's the motherboard. I only know this because I did plug the 6350 into this board, and it does work. It's just I ended up getting the 8370 for a really good price, so I couldn't pass it up. And then I also decided to change out the graphics card. Both of my R9 270Xs finally died. I actually had them in crossfire. The first one went. I think the thermal paste on it just finally kicked the bucket. That graphics card did last me a good 2 years. And I never changed the original thermal paste on it, so I was gonna try to. Well, see, here's the thing: I bought them both from Best Buy, so they're both lifetime guaranteed from Best Buy. And there's actually a reason I bought them at Best Buy, was that reason. But long and the short of it, that one, it fried. The first one fried. It has like green lines that run down the middle of the screen. And then the second one, it is on its way out. It's still working, but if you watch like Netflix or something like that for too long on the HDMI cable, it decides to just shut down the graphics card. So long and the short of it, I upgraded everything. The only thing that I kept from the old computer is the 1866 megahertz RAM. There's 16 gigs of that. The 240 gig SSD. This thing's been in like 4 computers and still works beautifully. The Seagate Barracuda has been with me since the very first Asus computer I had, which I still have actually, with the AMD, I think it has a 6-core 6700, I think is the name of it. But long and the short of it, that was everything. It does have the H100i cooler, still. I do have two 2600 RPM fans on that, and there's two 2600 RPM fans here. These are two 140s. This is two 120s, and then it actually has white LEDs on the top. White LED fans, rather. And this is just an NZXT fan that I had laying around, so I figured I'd throw it in there. But long and the short of it, it's got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fans. Count them up for you. It does also have color changing LEDs. Just to show you, it comes with this ugly little remote. It's called the I can't even pronounce it, but it's Sakitech or something like that. It was like $25, but basically it can change any color. I just have it in red because it's AMD, but blue doesn't look bad. Can't find the sensor. The IR sensor's back here. It's like buried behind stuff, so I gotta work on my cables and stuff like that at some point. But basically it, changes colors. I could do this and make it change like colors just like the keyboard, kinda. I did want to upgrade to the NZXT Hue, but I'm waiting for the price on that to come down, if it does at all. But my little brother has the Hue and he doesn't really use it, so I might just take it out of his computer and give him this, just because he doesn't even use it on his computer. But long and the short of it, it looks pretty cool, I think. Again, getting into the hardware though, I have the 8370, this is the R9 390X, I have an 850 watt power supply by Corsair. If you're gonna get this graphics card, do not go anything lower than an 850, and a good 850. And I say that with, the kindest of words being said about any other power supply, but long and the short of it, I'll explain why. I had read online that this graphics card can be run with a 600 watt power supply. That is bullshit, and I'm going to say that right now. That is bullshit. First off, I had an EVGA gold rated 600 watt power supply. It popped the capacitor on it, fried that. I have another 600 watt power supply just laying around. I tried that out, also popped that. And the EVGA actually has a little, it's like a little fuse, so it actually just popped the fuse. So I changed out the fuse and it works now, but long and the short of it, don't do it. Tried the 750 watt CX 750M, and it was working, but I think the problem is that I actually had the fried MSI motherboard. So I thought it was the graphics card issue and the power supply, so I just returned both of them. And I paid $20 more for the 850, so it was totally worth it. And sorry, I just got my finger in the camera, but long and the short of it, it worked out in my favor. So, the computer has more than enough power to be able to overclock everything. And I'll show you, I do have everything overclocked. One thing I wanted to talk about was the BIOS. The BIOS is actually, it does have a little bit of a learning curve, but it, is a little bit, it's not too hard to understand if you understand what you're doing, but if you don't know what you're doing, it did have a bit of a learning curve for me because I'm used to, easy BIOS, that, basically tells you what you're doing, as opposed to BIOS that, you actually got to fiddle with. So I wasn't really sure originally what the MIT current status was, but then again, it kind of... Why is my mouse is acting all weird? Oh, this one's acting funky. Alright, anyway. I don't know what it is with my mice lately. My mice have been... One works, the other one doesn't work, the other... It's stupid. Long and the short of it, but... the MIT status, it shows you, all your status of your computer. So it'll show you what you have, clocked at, it'll show you what your memory is running at, which this isn't right, by the way. It does run at 1866, but it doesn't do that until it boots up. So just to show you, just to let you know, I do have 1866 megahertz RAM, but it doesn't actually fire it up to 1866 until I get into the computer actually running. Total memory size, you can see I have the 16 gigs. So here's the part that kind of got tricky with me, was this. So I'm used to having right here, change that so you can see a little better. Usually I'm used to having here that I can click this and it has like a little spin wheel, and it literally, as I spin it down, it shows what it's going to clock to, and then I just hit back and save and it's good to go. But here you actually physically have to type in the numbers and then kind of guess at what it's going to set it to, and if you accidentally do hit enter, it will, you know, set it to that, and if it's too high, it freezes up the computer. So if you don't know what you're doing, I don't suggest doing this at all. One thing you can do, and it's something that actually I'll show you later in the video, is when you go into, there's another program, see, it's tracking. I don't know what the, I think I gotta change out this mouse pad. I think this one's finally fried. But anyway, the, I lost my train of thought. But anyway, the basically it's overclocked to 4.7. I did have it overclocked to 4.8, but it started to get a little glitchy after running, you know, 24/7 for a little while. I actually started using my laptop at night now and turning this off during the day, so it doesn't run 24/7 all the time anymore. But it was running kind of hot, and even then it was not necessarily that it was running hot, because it does run like ice cold all the time. But it was running glitchy, like sometimes it would freeze up if I was playing games for a long period of time. So just to go back, just so you can see, the memory setting is 1866 up there. The voltage settings, I don't really play with this too much, just because you can fuck up your power supply by playing with this. I find that 1.475 was like a safe voltage to play with. And I did have to play around for a little while here and, you know, kind of figure this out, but it is kind of safe for the computer. And here you can actually check the status of the computer, make sure everything's running okay. You know, just kind of play around in here and make sure that, you know, everything's running normally. Up there you can see my CPU temperature, my system temperature. It's, you know, it's warm, but it's not hot at all. For what it should be. So we'll back up out of this and I'll boot the computer up. While this is booting up, I do have two monitors. As you can see, I have the Lenovo. They're 23-inch monitors. They're IPS. The only thing I wish that these monitors had was a matte finish as opposed to the gloss. The gloss really isn't bad, it's just when you click them together multiple times, you can see I have some chipping up here, as well as there, and, you know, I didn't do it intentionally, it was just when I was setting up the, you know, the monitors on the stand here, it just kind of chipped like that. But long and the short of it, it's still a really nice monitor, it does run really nice. And for a 1080p monitor, it does, you know, have a really nice picture. Just to show you, I'll turn off the light here. Oh, there we go. So, you know, you can see it does have a really nice picture. You know, and this is typically how I'm using the computer, is in the dark. Sitting here with the lights off, so there's really no like glare, except from like Kratos' tank when I have his daytime light on. Right now it's night, so he has his night light on. But long and the short of it, when I do have the white LEDs on, there is a little bit of glare. It doesn't pick up and it doesn't bother me. I've kind of grown used to it, but it's just something like if you had this in a room, the monitor does get annoying. Keyboard is the Thermaltake Poseidon RGB. I also do have a Razer Naga which I have to replace. This one, like I said, it's been tracking funny, and I don't know if it's the mouse pad or if it's the actual laser on here. I've had this for about 2 years. This one also, this is like my backup mouse. This is a Razer Abyss. This was like my very first one that I had with the original computer. But, so we're going to go into some of the software, just the Gigabyte software. I'm not going to go into anything else. I actually will show you that I did overclock the graphics card. I do use MSI Afterburner for that. And as you can see, can you go away? Thank you. As you can see here, it'll show the temperature of the graphics card. 32 degrees Celsius isn't bad to set for the graphics card, and I was just watching YouTube videos for a long time, waiting for my files to transfer over. But anyway, core voltage is plus 50, power limit plus 30, core clock 1100, and memory clock at 1700. And I always have the fans full cranked, just because the card does run hot if you don't, and it doesn't really hurt it, especially being I'm using a little bit lower power on the CPU and a little bit more power on the graphics card. One thing I do like about Gigabyte's motherboard versus MSI is they do have like an actual BIOS updater, so you can go in here, you can click on where you're from, click here, and then it'll actually do a search for the most recent BIOS for that area, and it'll tell you that if there's a new BIOS to download or not. You could update the files from here, you could save files. The Face Wizard is actually like a tracking system, so that you don't lose like any of your files, and that nobody else can access your BIOS but you if you have a camera. Here's the ambient lighting. There is actually a rear panel LED that on the back of this motherboard, so you can actually hook up your own LED system to the back of this motherboard and actually use it like that. The other thing too is it does have the audio, where the audio pulse is, or the amped up audio is what it's called. But where it has the audio area, it has the same red LEDs that like the Asus motherboard does. So you have still mode, which you can see the LEDs right there on the left hand side of the board. You have still mode, pulse mode, which just makes like a nice little breathing effect. Which honestly I just keep it on still mode. And there's also beat mode, so there's actually a little device that comes with the board that you can actually install on the board. I just, you can already see all my cables and everything. I tried to keep it all as neat as possible, but I didn't want another little cable hanging off the front of it, so long and the short of it, stuck to that. Let's close that. The USB blocker I don't really use. There's a lot of this programming that you're gonna get when you download stuff, but that again I don't really use. And it is, like I said, it is a little buggy, but it's not like a bad buggy. It's the best way I can explain it. But you see, it just closed out. So Live Updater is it basically will scan Gigabyte's website and see if there's any programs that need to be updated for the motherboard, and that's actually kind of nice. This one actually is a glitch currently, and I'm hoping that they've come out with a way to fix that soon. Just because this one, for whatever reason, I've installed it like 5 times, and no matter how many times I install it, it still is there. So long and the short of it, that's the only bug that I've seen with it. Down here, this is where it kind of gets cool. A lot of the motherboards have a overclocking program now. So this is actually their overclocking program. And again, you'll hear the fans kick on. With the overclocking program, it actually has the control for the fans. And here, like, if you're not an overclocker, you don't know what you're doing, this is the safest way to go about doing it. You can basically, it'll give you the set, programmability for your CPU and your motherboard. Other thing you have here too is it shows you the voltages that you're going to mess with, the CPU ratio, you know, and all these marks where it's in yellow is kind of like the warning setting. So long and the short of it, you know, I kind of know what I'm doing from the multiple computers that I've had, so I don't not really worry too much when it comes to overclocking. And just to show you over here, oh, well, it's gone now. But it does show you like what you have everything set to. Pull this back up, and game controller, I don't think I actually have used. It basically allows you to set the controls for the speed or for the mouse and everything like that. You know, like I said, I don't think I've ever used it, but it is an interesting program to try to use. I just, like I said, it doesn't really do anything for me. And then you have VTuner. You know, this allows you to do your graphics card. Again, I don't use this. I've used that. I've used the MSI Afterburner just because I'm more familiar with it. Other thing too is that the Gigabyte one didn't have any voltage change, so, and for the overclock on this graphics card, you do need to change the voltage. So another cool thing is the system viewer. This is getting kind of long, but long and the short of it, I keep my fans cranked all the time. You know, when it comes down to it, you know, I want the computer running cool as possible, and anybody that knows AMD computers, they run fucking hot, and I say that in the nicest way of ways. They all run hot. So like I said, I have the two 2600 RPM fans on the front of the case, and this is the Corsair Air 540, by the way. I totally forgot to say that. But long and the short of it, it has the two 2600 RPM on the front, two 2600 RPM on the top, and then it has like a 1400 RPM for the back of the case, which, like I said, it really doesn't do very much, but it's just there, and it does suck out some of the air, but most of the air is going out through the top. But I do keep it in full speed. You can, play around with it, change it to standard, performance, quiet. Like I said, I don't really play with that very much, kind of leave it where it's at. And right here you can see the workload of the fans. You can actually play with the RPMs and stuff like that. So I guess it's actually a 2400 RPM fan. Oh. Here you can see the frequencies and stuff like that. It does take a second for it to load it, and then it'll show you your system temperature, your CPU temperature. These are the thresholds to actually shut down your computer. So I mean, you can see my computer runs nice and cool. And it is overclocked to 4.7, 200 megahertz on the clock. Multiplier is 23.5, and the RAM is 1866, as you can see right there. And it does bounce up and down, depending on what it's doing. But long and the short of it, it runs very stable. I can make benchmark videos for you guys if you're interested. Let me know. I have run Firestrike, I've run Heaven, and I've run Valley on this, and it runs beautifully. So I'm more than happy to make a video. If you guys want a video of any of that, let me know. I do have quite a few games that I can benchmark for you as well. Let me know what you want to see. But long and the short of it, I made this video for that one guy. Actually, you know what? I made this video for all of those guys that were asking me questions about the MSI motherboard. Just change your motherboard to this Gigabyte one. It'll save you so much grief. I'll never buy another MSI motherboard as long as I live. My little brother swears by his, but he's also an Intel fanboy. I personally like AMD better. It's a personal. I like the underdog all the time. So even though my computer's not nearly as fast as his, he has a 4790K. He has a 980 Kingpin, and he has 2133 megahertz RAM by G-Skill. He actually got it from my computer. I gave it to him. But long and the short of it, I've never been really a fan of the MSI. You know, I had one of their laptops. I gave them a second chance with this last motherboard, and it fried on me. So I'm gonna send it back to them, get the new one, probably sell it, just because honestly I don't need it. I'll probably slap like a cheap graphics card in it and, you know, make some money that way to put more into this guy. But long and the short of it, let me know if you guys want any other videos. Like I said, I can do benchmarks for you guys if you want them, and I have run them, and they do run really smooth. I actually do use this computer for streaming as well. So if you guys want, you know, I can include my Twitch name. I do play Xbox almost every night, as well as I also do do play League of Legends. I'll stream some Subnautica, you know, whatever I feel like, to be perfectly honest. Mostly I'm on the Xbox though. But anyway, have a good night, guys. I hope this helped you out, you know, if you were looking to get the G1 gaming motherboard. And like I said, let me know what you want to see. If you want to see me run the benchmarks, I'm more than happy to do it. Anyway, have a good one, guys.